I know the pieces fit, 'cause I watched them fall away, mildewed and smoldering, strangled by a comforting pure intention, juxtaposed will set two lovers' souls in motion, disintegrating as it goes, strengthening our communication. Why is my aspect ratio so fucked up? This is strange. I've never had this problem. I'm using a different webcam than I usually use, but the aspect ratio is all kinds of funky. Let's see what I can do about that. Okay, so I can... Now I'm at the top of the screen. Now I'm also at the bottom of the screen, question mark? No, I moved myself away from the top of the screen, it seems. Okay, now I'm bigger, but off-center. I can't quite get my preview window to show me... Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I'm nearly full height. But do I want to go all the way across? That kind of causes issues as well. Let's see. Let's see here. That's centered. This'll be fine. We can have a little bit of black bars on the side. Hello, Nisa. Hello, Ulamu Ui. Hello, Bez Puddle. I got lost somewhere in the lyrics. Let me look them up. I know the pieces fit, 'cause I watched them tumble down. No fault, none to blame. It doesn't mean I don't desire to point the finger, blame the other. Watch the temple topple over to bring the pieces back together. Rediscover communication. The poetry that comes from the square enough between and the circling is worth it, finding beauty and the dissonance. There was a time that the pieces fit, but I watched them fall away, mildewed and smoldering, strangled by our coveting. I've done the math enough to know the dangers of our second guessing, doomed to crumble unless we grow and strengthen our communication. Enough of that. Howdy, Airy May. Is that something they say down in Straya? Howdy? Or is that more of a, I'm talking to an American, so I'm gonna say howdy. I'm afraid of Americans. Actually, I don't know that we really say howdy here in the United States either. I feel like only certain parts. Cold silence high a tendency to atrophy any sense of compassion between supposed lovers, between supposed lovers. I know the pieces fit. 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 Boom, biddly bing, boom, biddly bing, biddly boom, boom, biddly bing, boom, biddly bing, biddly boom. Elf Rules says, hello, Trixie. The other day I tried to listen to the Mars Volta because of you, but it gives me headaches. You know what? It gives everyone headaches. One part of that is because it's the most chaotic, dense fucking music in the world, and one part of that is because of the blown-out production. I've been waiting for so long for someone to mend all the blame. I've been searching for so long for something to anonymous avenge my name. Whoa. That's the Mars Volta. I was doing Tool before that, though. Really taking myself back to the mid-2000s when my favorite bands were the Mars Volta and Tool, and of course Coheed and Cambria, who I've really been on a autistic fixation of as of late. The Mars Volta feels like life, but doesn't give me headaches, unlike Lots of Life. Well, that's good. It does feel like life and death happening back to back constantly. The ocean floor is hidden from your viewing lens. A depth perception languished in the night. All of my life I've been sewing these wounds, but the seeds spread a lacrimal cloud. Ooh. Yakuman says, this song is too obscure and niche. Can you go back to singing the One Piece pirate rap like you used to? Ya-yo, dreamin'. Don't give it up, Luffy, dreamin'. Don't give it up, Zoro, dreamin'. Don't give it up, Nami, dreamin'. Don't give it up, give it go. Ya-yo. Brody's here. You know, Yakuman, I feel like the joke you're making, you must have caught what I was doing with the title here of this stream. Anime versus Otaku. Because there's this fucking dork called Shadow Priest who always comments on my videos and always has some kind of nagging little complaint that he thinks is like, he thinks he's giving me advice on how to make my channel better. But the advice always comes from a position of clearly having no fucking idea what I'm doing or talking about. And so I will try to tell this person, like, no, here's the part you're missing. And then he'll always be like, I don't know, Trixie. It seems like you just can't listen to anybody telling you how to help. Just people want to help you and you just don't want to listen. And I'm like, well, you see all these people in chat right here? These are all people who give me advice, and I listen to them because I trust them, because they know what I'm doing, and they understand what the goal is. But this Shadow Priest dude has been commenting for years, and every single time it pisses me off. And maybe he's a really effective troll. If he's purely just trolling, then I gotta hand it to him. He's great at trolling because he always makes me upset. Every time. Yes, Brody, the Shadow Priest video is real. We're doing it right here, right now. So here was the latest Shadow Priest troll, how he got me. Because I made this video about Cyrano from Toho, and Shadow Priest goes, like, what a weird niche to have as an interest. Like, that was, like, the whole comment. And I'm like, weird niche interest is my whole brand. What are you talking about? Everything I talk about is... my last video was about Guilty Gear. Like, what? Weird niche interest from me? So I was like, I responded like, breaking news. YouTuber whose entire career is about niche interests has a niche interest. And then Shadow Priest did the most infuriating thing imaginable and said, anime is not an obscure interest. And then I was like, oh, okay, all right. So that's what I do. I talk about anime. That's it. That's the full breadth of what I've been doing this whole time, is talking about anime. Okay. And so I tried to reason with this person that sure, some anime is more mainstream than Toho, but a lot of what I cover is not more popular or better known than Toho, and Shadow Priest could not accept this. They were like, no, I'm pretty sure almost all anime is less obscure than Toho. And at that point, I'm like, well, I don't know how to argue with somebody who's just objectively wrong. Like, you know, when I use the phrase, you are objectively wrong, something bad is happening. Like, that's not a phrase you usually hear come out of my mouth, because usually I'm talking in the realm of opinions. But we're talking about the realm of hard facts. Most of the anime I talk about is significantly more obscure than Toho. And at some point, he said something to the effect of, do you think most Western otaku have even heard of Toho? And I really had to, like, take a step back and be like, oh no. What do you mean by Western otaku? First of all, is that even really a thing? Is there such a thing as a Western otaku? Usually, if somebody from the West becomes an otaku, they move to Japan. Like, the long form of being a Western otaku is that you eventually end up not Western anymore. I am one of the rare cases of somebody who has self-identified as otaku and not chosen to dedicate my entire life to moving to Japan. But also, if you've never heard of Toho, you do not qualify as otaku. You barely qualify as an internet person. Like, I can't believe you've been on the internet and never heard of Toho. I literally can't believe it. Sivnull said you should only make videos about B-Train. That would be hilarious. That would be sincerely fucking hilarious. If I just was like, alright, this is just a B-Train channel now. The Asterisk War is clearly more famous than Toho. Jeez. And that's not even true, but at least that's, like, one of the more popular shows. Like, the Asterisk War was pretty popular when it came out, and there are still people who have heard of it. But yeah, like, I mean, if we're talking about impact, it basically didn't exist, like, compared to Toho. I just, like, if you even watched the podcast that this comment was on, we talk about how insanely popular and influential Toho is, where, like, every Iosis song has tens of millions of views. That alone is bigger than most of the anime I talk about. Like, literally one Iosis song is more famous than most of the anime I talk about. So that by itself should already be like, I don't understand how you can even possibly argue that most of the anime I talk about is more popular than Toho, when literally you can go to one Toho song, one fan song, and it will have more views than how many people have seen most of the anime I talk about. Like, I've never been talking about mostly popular anime. The by far the most popular anime I've ever talked about is Sword Art Online, you know, and Attack on Titan. I've talked about those two. I have occasionally touched. Hunter x Hunter got really popular sometime after I talked about it, but like, there's never been like a fixation on popular anime on my channel. I have a fucking 3-part Nanoha retrospective. A 3-part Nanoha retrospective from 2015. I don't think Nanoha is as popular as Toho. I don't think Nanoha could exist without Toho. But I also don't think you can call yourself an otaku if you haven't heard of Nanoha. And that's a tenth of Toho's influence. And I still think you can't call yourself an otaku because an otaku is not a mainstream category of a fucking person. Otaku is not anime fan. If I go to the mall right now, all I will see is anime. I will see Jujutsu Kaisen. I will see Demon Slayer. I will see, you know, anime style stuff, Sanrio shit everywhere. I will see plenty of anime if I go to the mall. I won't see Nanoha. I won't see Toho. Those are otaku media. You have to go to otaku places to find otaku media. My channel is otaku places. It's not an anime space. My channel has never been a safe space for mainstream anime fans. It's, if anything, been a very dangerous place for regular anime fans. This is where you come to hear about how shitty most anime is. Not to hear about how anime is cool to be into. No. So I was just blown away. This argument went on for like 70 comments, by the way. 5 other people jumped in to be like, Shadow Priest, what the fuck are you talking about? And he just wouldn't accept it. Like, no matter what was said, he was like, no, pretty sure Toho's actually really obscure. I go on the internet and all I see is Toho content. Like, I've put my algorithm in such a way that, like, when I go on Blue Sky, I see nothing but new Toho art, like in a consistent feed all day. I've got YouTube feeding me nothing but Fumo videos. Like, YouTube is literally feeding me almost exclusively Toho content. Do you know how much Toho content there has to be for that stuff to be true? It's a constant feed. Shout out Pyramid Inu said, every few years I go, I should get into Toho like that meme cat deciding to get a boat. Enjoyed the Cyrano video, by the way. Honestly, and the funny thing about getting into Toho is that it's simultaneously the easiest and the hardest thing in the world, right? Because if getting into Toho means, like, I'm going to, like, decide I enjoy a certain character, you're done. You're already in. You know, it's like that. Because you can literally play all 20 of the main series games in one afternoon. Each one is half an hour long, and you're not making it that far. You know, like, you're not going to make it half an hour into the game. You can, if you want, you can pick a Toho game and decide you're going to play it until you beat it. And if you're really good at video games, especially if you're good at shooter games, you might not take that long to beat a Toho game. If you're playing it on easy mode, you can at least make it to the end of easy mode, but that doesn't let you fight the final boss, and you have to 1cc normal mode to unlock the extra stage. So if you really want to feel that you have beaten, you know, thank you to Oh My Guy who gifted a membership, and also to No Time for Meta who received the membership. Do witchcraft. Hell yeah. Like, you pick up one of the games, and if your goal is, I'm going to beat this to completion, that's going to be a lot of time, you know? But if you pick up a Toho game and you're just like, I'm going to play this until I'm bored and then I'll move on, like, you could do that in 20 minutes and you'll be like, okay, I think I understand what this game is, you know? And then you move on to the next one and it's mostly the same thing. And I say 20 games, but really the first 5 you could pretty much ignore. Nobody cares about them. So you really are starting with Toho 6, which is getting a remake this year. And that's going to be a great excuse. A lot of people are going to get into it through the remake of Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, in particular because the remake is going to have an infinite lives mode where you are allowed to just play it to completion. And again, that'll take half an hour, you know, so you'll be very easily capable to beat it in that time. Each game is very short. If you want to get into going beyond the games, there's no one thing that everyone in the fandom is aware of. You know, like, you could take any route through Toho and it'll mean just as much as to you as somebody else's route means to them. So, like, it's very much a choose your own adventure fan base. Like, there are some people who are just into the games themselves, and that is like a tiny, tiny portion of the Toho fan base. I would say probably more than 50 or 60% of Toho fans either haven't ever even tried the games because they know how hard they are, or have only really dabbled in them and never really tried to, like, make an earnest effort towards beating one. But then you've got hundreds of fan games. You've got thousands of fan videos, you know, you've got hundreds of thousands of fan arts. You know, like I said in the Cyrano video, for the first few months, all I knew of Toho was Ramelia Scarlet's character design. Like, it was literally, I'm just like on Gelboru, I see this cool ass picture of a vampire girl, like a cute vampire girl in a world of crimson, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I click through on her name, and there's a bunch more art just like that. And I'm like, this is the coolest shit in the world, you know? And then, like, from that point forward, for a while, for, like, years, Ramelia Scarlet was, like, my go-to, here's my favorite character. Just look at this character. She's so fucking cool. I don't know fucking shit about her. To this day, I have never made it to Ramelia Scarlet in her video game. Like, Embodiment of Scarlet Devil's fucking hard, and she's the final boss. The second to last boss, Sakuya, shouts out to Kino, who finally beat her the other day, but that's after, like, more than a decade of attempts. I've been playing this game, you know, on and off. I've played these games for 20 years. I have never cleared with all of my continues, because the game gives you, like, 4 continues. I have never cleared normal mode at all, regardless of continue. Not even a 1cc. Not at all have I completed a game on normal, except for number 9, because it's different and easier. And yeah, Sivnals pointed out the music is way bigger than the games. Yeah, the music and the art is the main engagement. The Fumos are more popular than the games, which, if you don't know what a Fumo is, like a cute little super deformed version of a Toho. But, like, I'm literally following, like, 6 channels of just Fumo, like, how would I describe them? Puppeting videos. You know, like, Fumo puppeteering comedy short videos. Like, how many Toho games are there? There are, so, the first 5 were made for the PC 98. Nobody really returns to those because they're not that well made, and the canon restarts at 6. They're all made by one guy. It's just one dude does everything in the game, you know, and he started in college when he was, like, learning to program. So the point of the Toho games, from his perspective, was a vehicle to promote his music, because he's a fucking amazing musician. And so he was like, I want this music to get out there, and I like bullet hell games, and, you know, and I'm learning programming. So what if I put my programming knowledge together with my musical knowledge and then created these characters that can kind of, you know, I don't know if he creates the characters based on their songs or if it's more of just an all-together process, like just coming up with everything at once. But the sixth game is the first one that was made for Windows, and it is by far the most famous. Every character in Embodiment of Scarlet Devil is a massively famous character who has a billion fan arts. You could lose yourself in the entire world of just being a fan of one character from Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. And that's number 6. So number 6 you might as well think of as number 1, and it's getting remade this year. And the remake looks fucking awesome. So then after that, it goes up to 20. So 6 through 20, those 15 games would be considered the main Toho games. Now, if you're trying to participate in Toho fandom, you could pretty much get away with just knowing 6 through 14. Everything after that is significantly less popular, just because those characters from those first 8 or so games already had so much fandom that it is like a self-replicating thing. You know, like, there are some newer characters that have some fandom, but nothing even remotely close to the characters from 6 through 14 or so. Particularly 6, 7, and 8. Those are like the golden era. 6, 7, 8, 9, I should say. Maybe even 10. I would say 6 through 10, those are the games that every character in them has a massive fan base. After that point, there's kind of like certain characters are really popular, but other ones you don't see as much. But if you just played 6 through 10, you would understand 95% of Toho fandom. And again, you could do that in like 2 hours. You could play all those games. Then there's all the in-between games, which are like 10.5 or 12.5 and stuff like that. I want to say there's 10 or so of those, and half of them are like just a unique mechanic where like they'll take one of the characters who's not usually a main character and give them their own way of interacting with the game. They're usually hard as balls. And then there's a bunch of fighting games, and the fighting games are also fucking very strange and very hard. But if we're talking about fan games, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of fan games. So you can lose yourself in fan games forever. But again, most of Toho fandom is about like just figuring out which characters you like and then indulging in, you know, looking at those characters all fucking day. And there's not much depth to any of them. Like, you know, in terms of canon, they only get a few lines of dialogue in the games where they're introduced. There are certain characters who keep coming back, but if you really want to understand the fan base, you just have to consume a bunch of fan works, and then you'll start to notice certain things that keep popping up, right? Like, for instance, in Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, most of the game takes place in this mansion called the Scarlet Devil Mansion, which is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, like House of Leaves. And so when you play the game, you go through Scarlet Devil Mansion, you fight some, you know, you fight a few girls, and then you beat the game. In the fan work, for whatever reason, Scarlet Devil Mansion has a tendency to explode. Like, the whole mansion just explodes. I don't believe this happens in the game at all, but in fan work, it is such a meme at this point that you almost won't ever not see it explode. You'll never find like an explanation or like a here was the first time it exploded or whatever. It's like, it's just what the fans do with it. You know, it's the kind of thing you learn about through just osmosis. You consume Toho and then you start figuring out, oh, okay, fans do this or they do that. But then you'll also find works that just completely don't do anything that other fan works do, you know, that have their own logic, their own approach to the characters. So, like, there is no concrete fanon, but there is certain things that you'll just start to notice, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Everybody likes to make the Scarlet Devil Mansion explode, you know? Domain expansion, Scarlet Devil Mansion, bars on Sanshin. I don't think Toho as an IP is that niche the games are. That is fair to say. I definitely think the games are significantly more niche than the the whole of the intellectual property. And it's just because they come from a niche genre of bullet hell, which, like, you know, at the time that they started coming out, bullet hell was pretty big in Japanese arcades. So it wasn't like a completely niche genre, but over time, bullet hell has fallen off as a genre worldwide. You know, like, there's not a bunch of bullet hell games coming out all the time anymore. So, like, you know, Toho is at this point, one of the more famous bullet hell games, but mostly because of secondary fandom. You know, where, like, if you get into bullet hell, the most famous bullet hell games that are not Toho are probably the Dodonpachi games. But, like, Dodonpachi does not have a massive fandom. Its characters do not get expanded on. You will not find a ton of art of it. Like, you play Dodonpachi because you actually like bullet hell games. So that's how you can tell the difference between somebody who is just a Toho fan and somebody who actually likes the genre is, like, do they know Dodonpachi? Because if they like bullet hell, they definitely do. And if they just like Toho, they might not. But, yeah, it's incredibly influential, incredibly famous, incredibly massive. And moreover, like I said, most of the anime I talk about is not any of that. You know, Shirobako is not massively famous. It doesn't have like, you have to struggle to find artwork of Shirobako characters, you know, like, it's nowhere near the level of influence and popularity of Toho. So fuck you, Shadow Priest, you son of a bitch. If you ever see Shadow Priest in the comments, please bully him. Because you can say anything, it doesn't matter, he's not going anywhere. I've just raw-ass insulted him, like, dozens of times. I've been like, you are my worst commenter. I've said, I personally hate you. I've said, like, all the meanest things I can think of I've said to this dude, and none of it has affected him at all. He always just goes, haha, Trixie, you just don't like you don't like help. And I'm like, okay. You're such a great help, you know. If I just listened to what you said, I'm sure my channel would be thriving, you know. It would not be the channel that it is, but it would be thriving. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. I'm reading the chat now. My favorite character is Suako Moria. Never played the games, though. Yeah, see, that's a very normal Toho experience. And if you had played the games, you would not have made it to Suako Moria, because I'm pretty sure she's an extra stage boss. So that's, like, almost fucking impossible to get to. Without you'd have to spend, like, a month just straight up dedicating yourself, watching other people's playthrough videos to figure out what are optimal strategies. Like, it's not easy to reach any, like, most of the most beloved characters in Toho are, like, final boss characters. Like, a lot of the early bosses are, like, way less popular than the final bosses, because the final bosses usually have crazy ass powers and, like, way more implications of what they can do, and a lot of them are like gods and shit. I was thinking when we do the EOSD remake episode, we should see who ends up being very popular in that first month and then cover them. That is not a bad idea. I mean, I would assume it's going to be fucking Ramelia and Flander, because they're pretty consistently popular. Or Sakuya, I mean. That's the other thing, like, there are several characters in Toho that have their own fan games that are, like, like, I would bet that Toho Luna Nights has been played by more people than most of the Toho games. Like, probably not more than 6, because Toho 6 is the most popular, and I think when most people go to, like, give a try to Toho, they're probably going to try 6 just because it's got all the famous characters, which is not necessarily the best place to start if you're not going to be very dedicated to it. Like, 7 and 8 are both easier. 8 is, like, the fan favorite, the most beloved by people who play the games. But, like, Toho Luna Nights is just a Metroidvania game using Sakuya from the same team that made Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth like right afterwards. And I would bet more people have played Toho Luna Nights than have played most of the main games. I would bet more Toho fans have played Toho Lost Word because it's like an iPhone RPG. Like, that game is massively popular. So I would bet there's more Toho Lost Word players than there are Toho 20 players, you know. Ikaruga would be a better one as far as mainstream rec goes. Yeah, I guess Ikaruga is probably one of the most famous bullet hells, and that's made by Treasure, which, like, Treasure are, like, the kings of cult games. Like, every Treasure game is, like, absolutely beloved by a very niche audience, you know? But that falls into the realm of otaku media to me. Like, if you're a video game otaku, you definitely know Treasure. You definitely know Cave. You know, like, if you're not a video game otaku, you don't know these companies. But, like, a gamer and a gaming otaku are different things. You know, if you play nothing but popular games, that is not otaku. That is just you're a gamer. And you could be playing popular games all day, every day. Like, you might even be considered an otaku of that game, right? Like, maybe a Borderlands otaku. But if you're, like, into video games collectively, like, you want to find the best games, the classic games, like, you will definitely find out who Treasure is, you know, and you will know Ikaruga whether you like it or not, or have even played it. But yeah, Ikaruga probably is more popular than Dodonpachi, but I don't know if it's as beloved among shmup fans. It's probably up there. It is considered really great, but you know, like I said, it's very much like if you've like, I can imagine somebody's only bullet hell game they've ever played being Ikaruga. With Dodonpachi, it's like, I know you play bullet hell. Like, I know you like this genre if you're referencing this game, you know. Every anime that gets super popular for a season can fade so fast. Exactly. Well, and also, like, you know, if we're just talking about me fucking talking about what Shadow Priest said, I never talked about just the most popular shows in a season. Like, I consider what I like at the height of me talking about anime, because I barely even talk about anime at this point, but at the height of me talking about anime, my gimmick was that I watched everything. I watched all the obscure stuff, and then I brought obscure stuff to the attention of people who wouldn't have heard of it, you know, like fucking I can't understand what my husband is saying. That's otaku media, you know. And every once in a while, something that is otaku-oriented does become, like, kind of breaches containment, right? Like Dragon Maid from the same author as the other one I just mentioned. That's very much otaku-oriented, but breached containment, you know? But it also sparked a lot of controversy because it breached containment. It's one of those shows where it has a lot of fans who hate that it has this seedier otaku underbelly to it, you know, and that's something you just don't get in the otaku fandom, where people are just going to take that stuff as natural, you know, which is why there needs to be a distinction between anime fan and otaku. Anime fan can have their normal stuff, but otaku have our stuff, you know, and like fucking it, like, so in Japan this would already be considered obvious, right? Because there, like, mainstream anime in Japan has always existed, and then otaku media has always existed apart from that, where, like, you know, Detective Conan is mainstream anime. It is not otaku media. That doesn't mean that otaku don't like Detective Conan. Plenty of them do. But the bulk of Detective Conan fans are not otaku. The bulk of Naruto fans are not otaku. the bulk of One Piece fans are not otaku. Now, One Piece does inspire a certain fanaticism that might make somebody a One Piece otaku. But if we're talking about anime otaku, we're talking about people who are watching fucking visual novel, well, playing visual novels more so even than watching their adaptations. But we're talking about people who are watching, fucking harem slop in the 2000s and watching light novel shit in the 2010s. Like, oh man, I'm playing with a grip here. I feel like I'm over explaining something that's obvious to most of us, but Alex said, I feel like the best things are never the most popular, even though popular stuff can still sometimes be great. I more or less agree. I do think sometimes one of the most popular things is just one of the best things. Like Hunter x Hunter is one of those where, like, it's so popular because it is so good. Like, but yeah, oftentimes the popular thing is just okay, but it has a very broad appeal, my partner Bird, he watched all of Solo Leveling somewhat recently, and like that's one of those shows that people kept begging me to shit on. People were like, "Oh, you're gonna hate this show. It's just like Sword Art Online," and like I kind of passively consumed it in the background, and to me it was like, this is the most like average thing, like it's fine. There's nothing like explicitly wrong with it. It does what it's trying to do exactly right, but what it's trying to do doesn't interest me, so I wouldn't possibly care about it, but like in terms of comparing it to Sword Art Online, the problem SAO had was that it starts off with this really strong premise and then immediately gets distracted and does a billion other dumb things that don't fulfill the premise. Solo Leveling just takes that premise and actually just sticks to it. I think that's why it's so popular, is that it just went, hey, what if Sword Art Online didn't like fuck off and do a billion other things? It just did the thing it came to do, So like it made total sense for that show to be popular because it does its power fantasy exactly right. But if you don't share that particular power fantasy, it's just not going to mean much to you. Brody said, what do I think of the Amazing Digital Circus episodes that I binged? I thought they were all good stuff. It's a good show, It's a good young people dramedy. I definitely think it has captured the zeitgeist in a way where, like, I think it has captured the way that most young people feel perfectly. For me, the only character that I find, like, I don't really relate to any of the characters in Amazing Digital Circus, and the closest I feel is Kinger, of, like, kind of just knowing what's going on and putting it out of mind for the most part to be, like, a goofy goober, and then every once in a while snapping back into focus and being like, oh yeah, I remember all this, But I can't say not amazing, not terrible. Yet, I mean, I do think it's amazing for the people it's for. It's just, it's a, we watched it, so I watched it with Bird, the second half of the show, because he hadn't seen the second half yet at all. He had only seen the first 4 episodes. And he was, like, having a panic attack for, like, several days. And he was on the come down of that. And he threw this show on. And I thought, this is the perfect show to watch when you're, racked with anxiety and, and unsure what to do. And so, I was seeing most of those episodes for the second time. I hadn't seen episode 8 yet. But I think that it's got a lot of... It's like a lot of good ideas that don't feel very coherently stitched together, It's like each bit taken on its own is like, okay, I see what you're doing here. It's so, like, weirdly non-linear and not in the way that I usually relate to. How do I put it? it just feels very scattershot. It's very mood board. You know, it feels like a mood board of interesting things that feel very disconnected from one another. And I feel like if I felt strongly like any of the characters, or like I had relationships that reminded me of the characters, it would be hitting me in all kinds of ways. And obviously it does that to lots of people. I've heard, like, Ducky says, I watched the finale in theaters, it's all right. And I know Brody feels similarly, but I've seen at least 5 reviews that were like, I cried the entire time. You know, like, people were like, I cried from start to finish. I could not stop crying the whole fucking uh, movie. So, like, that also doesn't surprise me. Like, that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that there are some people who are going to see this and go like, wow, this reaches into the depths of my soul. But it is not that for me, you know. I think it's neat, but it's not my aesthetic. It's not my characters. It's not my, you know, narrative. But in terms of things that are going to be ridiculously popular, I think I'm happy that it's that. You know, like, I would much rather know that the entire next generation is coming up under Amazing Digital Circus than, you know, Sword Art Online or something. Like, it's like 1,000 times better than that. So I'm happy that it exists. I'm happy that it's popular. It's just not really for me, you know. That's fine. I'm old. Things don't have to be made for me. Because I have nostalgia and I can just go watch stuff that I liked when I was a teenager, like Toho and and Coheed and Cambria. I've been on a real nostalgia kick for 2009. Like, stuff I was into in 2009, I feel like I've been into lately. And my analysis of it is that, like, I think it was the first time that I felt like a part of culture in a way, where, like, growing up, the stuff I was into was never popular with the people around me. Like, I was, like, mega into Beast Wars, didn't know anybody who was into it. I was mega into Pokemon, didn't... Well, at the beginning of Pokemon being a big deal, I knew a lot of people who were into it, and that was really satisfying because that was the first time I really got to, like, connect with people around me. But then everybody else got out of it, and I was still into it for, like, years afterwards, and it felt very lonely, you know? And then I got into anime with my cousin, so I had him to talk to about anime, but nobody else I knew was into anime, you know? And so for a very long time, it just felt like I'm kind of on this island in my interests. Or I was into Nintendo games and everybody else had a PlayStation, you know? And then I started using the internet heavily in the early 2000s so that I could talk to other people about the stuff I'm into. But I just wasn't very good at expressing myself at first, and, you know, struggled to really connect with people about the stuff that we're talking about. It was more like I'd see people talking about something and then I'd go check that thing out, but then I wouldn't really have anything to contribute to the conversation. And, like, I think in the late 2000s, I started anime blogging and getting closer to other anime bloggers, and more so talking about stuff that was going on in that sphere, you know? And then 2009 is the year that I really remember where, like, I got into Nico Nico Doga and, like, Toho and Vocaloid and all this stuff that was, like, really big in the otaku sphere. And it felt like I had entered into this realm, you know, like, it felt like I had become a part of a larger machine, as best exemplified in the Ryu Seigun. Like, if you've never seen the Nico Nico Doga Ryu Seigun, It's basically a gigantic compilation of every meme that existed in otaku culture in 2009. And it's like 13 minutes long. And it's amazing. And so like I still go back to the Ryu Seigun, and like it's the ultimate nostalgia hit. It's like not only was it already one of my favorite YouTube videos or internet videos, but like now it's also like a transportational portal back to this era of otaku culture. And it's not even like I was into everything in it. Like there's a lot of Idolmaster in there. I never really got into Idolmaster, you know. There's a lot of key visual novel stuff, which I only ever watched the anime adaptations of that stuff. So it's not like I got everything in there, but I'm nostalgia for the era in and of itself, of like, this is what people were talking about. This is what otaku culture was. And it was like immediately preceded Content ID. And I think that's what like the reason culture did not evolve to be more of that is that copyright became such a big thing like towards the end of 2009. And so if Nico Nico Doga had never started taking down, you know, all the remix content, if YouTube had never become more and more copyright stringent, like culture would have evolved to be what I really wanted it to be, which was Ryu Seigun. And instead, that is now the pinnacle moment of it. Like, there's never been something like it again. And that's all I wanted culture to do. And so now I'm nostalgic for 2009. It's like like Hunter Thompson talking about how the water, like the hippie movement had brought the water level up in American culture, and then he just watched it wash away in the 70s. That's how I feel about Nico Nico culture. Girly Pop Princess said, "Do I have any otaku tendencies for coffee? I'm into pour-overs myself." I haven't gotten that deep into coffee yet. We have a grinder, so I do grind my own beans. I bought like a cheap drip coffee machine just to have one in my room recently. I could be doing French press, but boiling water and then having to pour it in is just more effort than than just fucking throwing. I drink so much coffee that like putting extra effort into it feels like very extra. I'm already grinding the beans. That's already like an extra bridge. And I mostly drink it black. But, you know, Bird and I will go out to look for like different types of beans and stuff to Most recently, I made a huge mistake because yesterday or the day before, whenever I did this, I went to Costco. I just wanted coffee, beer, and gas. And I grabbed their house blend, their whole bean house blend, because I was like, I don't remember what this tastes like. I'm sure I've had it before, but I want to try it again. And it smells great through the bag, but then you open the bag and you're like, oh, wait, this is kind of pungent. And then you drink it and you're like, oh, this is mid. This is thoroughly mid. I definitely, from Costco, the Colombian is the only whole bean to get. I just wanted something different. I've drank so much Colombian. But recently we had gotten some Guatemalan beans from this Filipino tea place or coffee and tea place, and that was really good. Got to go back there and get more. Pedro Henrique said, it's funny you say that because my generation, 25-year-olds, did come up with SAO, and now we're all deranged. I know. You came up in a tough cultural moment. The early 2010s were not the high point of culture from what I remember. Notice how I'm nostalgic for right before the 2010s. 2009 we had fucking K-On! Season 2. We had fucking Strike Witches. We had everything, all right? Alf Rules says, with 100 ARS, I've been watching Twin Peaks. What do you think about it and how being as weird as it is became mainstream? I don't think it really became mainstream per se. I think it's just been very influential on other cult media. But I also think cult media is feels more mainstream now because, like, if millions of people see something, everyone else knows that millions of people saw it because there's like a view count there, you know? And it used to be that, like if something has 5 million viewers, that is niche, but it's because those 5 million viewers can be spread all over the world, you know? But like if you were one of 5 million in the 90s, you had no idea that there were 5 million others. You just knew like the one or two people in town or whatever, or you saw it in Walmart and you went, I guess enough people know this thing that it's in Walmart, but like now you know there are 5 million people who appreciate the thing. So it feels a little bit less cult. Um, how does it feel seeing Pokemon and anime become popular with normies today? I mean, it's cool that like that stuff is easy to come by. It definitely makes me feel closer to culture, like or at least less like distant from it. You know, like I definitely had an era of being upset that everybody pretended they weren't into Pokemon for years, and then all of a sudden when Pokemon Go came out, now it's just okay to be into Pokemon. But you know, you can only be so salty. And then you start it's when you start seeing like some of your favorite Pokemon just in the store that you're like, "Ah, this is awesome." You know, this is cool. Ryu Seigun's what convinced you to get into anime? That's pretty awesome. How can you call yourself an otaku if you don't care about visual novels? Because I actively dislike them. Like, it would be one thing if I had never given them a shot, but I don't like them as a whole medium. It's just not my thing. I think you can be an otaku and not be into visual novels. You have to know about them. Coffee is expensive in the Philippines. I would not have known that. But that does make sense. Because I feel like anything imported is going to be really expensive there. Petra says, good morning. Thank you for that manga art you shared. Might read later. We'll see what it's like. Oh, yeah, Murcielago. I've only read the first volume, but it was very fun. It is deeply lesbian, chaotic, like fun, edgy action series. It's one of the few cool, edgy, like Black Lagoon-esque manga where the main character is a lesbian lady. And so that alone is a good reason to read it. I think you will enjoy it, probably. 2010s had Tomoko Market and Dragon Maid. I feel like the 2010s were still good. There was just more of it. Oh yeah, there was plenty of good in the 2010s, but I don't think Tomoko Market and Dragon Maid had nearly the impact on culture that Sword Art Online and Attack on Titan did. Do you think about anime fans on character AI? I don't know what that is. Why is it necessarily a good thing to be closer to culture? Because it is, I feel less fear about being outside. Because there's, people trust what they recognize. People trust things that seem familiar. And so if you seem unfamiliar, people will innately distrust you and distance themselves from you, or, you know, even become aggressive with you. Whereas if you have an air of familiarity, there's some recognition that's like, ah, I accept this because I understand it, you know? And so like when Pokemon first came out, kids all immediately loved it and latched onto it. Adults either like indulged it for the sake of their children or had like a fear and rejection response to it. And that's where you get all those news reports in the late 90s about Pokemon being satanic, and is it this, teaching our kids hypercapitalism or whatever, which it's funny to think that was a concern at the time. But like, adults had this rejection of it at first, and then after it was out for a little while, then a lot of the kids who were into it, they started distancing themselves from it because they saw it as emblematic of their childishness. Like, oh, I was into that last year, but now I've moved on to something cooler and more adult. I'm into skateboarding now. I'm into Grand Theft Auto now. Like, I'm a little older. But then the nostalgia kicks in where you start, as life gets more complicated, wanting to see things that you recognize and that you remember liking before. And so when the Pokemon generation reached adulthood and got nostalgic about it, it's when everybody went, oh, remember Pokemon? Remember when we were kids and things were easy? Remember Pokemon, And then Pokemon Go came out, and it was at just the right moment where everyone my age that was, in second grade when Pokemon hit is now an adult who goes outside and has friends, hopefully. And so we're all going outside and having friends with Pokemon now. And then all of the grown-ups who have now gotten used to it because they remember it as, oh, that's the thing my kid was into, when they were a kid, and now they're into it again, but it's in a way that I can connect with them, like people like my mom, who, like, my mom was into Pokemon in as much as it was something she could do with her kids, and then now she is like way into Pokemon Go. I haven't played Pokemon Go in almost I've played it maybe a few years ago, and my mom is still playing it actively to this day, because it's a recognizable thing. And then, now it's almost unavoidable. Like, there's nobody who doesn't know about Pokemon now. So, like, if I were to go out into the world, it's something I can connect with other people on instantly, where they might be like, oh, what's your deal? And I'll be like, oh, well, my favorite Pokemon is, fucking Charmander as a kid. And they go, oh, I know Charmander, and now there's a sense of camaraderie there. 2010s had lots of great stuff, Drowning and even more trash. Most of my favorites came out in that era. Yeah, definitely. My 2010 peers still only talk about Attack on Titan. It's insidious. It was huge. It was Titanic. It was the Titanic of the 2010s. What is the nichest media? Something I've never heard of, for sure. If I've never heard of it, it's definitely pretty niche. What do I think of Animal Collective? I've heard you talk about Spirits Are Gone. What are your thoughts on Sung Tongs or Meriwether Post Pavilion? They're good. They have some songs I like. But I've never been like a regular listener, I mean, I've probably heard not as much Sung Tongs. I think Centipede Hurts is probably the one I've listened to the most times, which is funny because it's not as beloved by a lot of people. But like Centipede Hurts and Meriwether Post Pavilion and Spirit They've Gone, there was a period of time where I listened to all those, like, a pretty decent amount, but I haven't really listened to Animal Collective in years. Alf said, you read Boogie Pop the other day, pretty good. It reminded me of the Monkey Jones book. That is such a bizarre comparison, but I kind of get what you mean because of the different perspectives and being about edgy high schoolers, but that is a really funny comparison to make. Is Harry Potter teaching our kids witchcraft? No, it's teaching them transphobia, unfortunately, which is even worse, and racism. Gen 6 is when the Pokemon nostalgia came back. Yeah, I mean, definitely it was Pokemon Go that did it. Pokemon Go was a cataclysm level event for culture. I don't know about Pokemon Go, but how do we get them to Pokemon Go to the polls? Thank you, Ducky. I'm still uncomfortable showing my power level even now. I remember a clip from this Normie podcast about how being a fan of Madoka Magica makes you a pedophile. It feels like culture is backsliding. That's insane of them to say, because I can walk into Hot Topic and there is a whole row of Madoka Magica t-shirts in Hot Topic. So if you're telling me that everybody who goes to Hot Topic is a PDF, then you're just tapped out. You don't know what the fuck's going on. Chicago footwork, most niche thing I'm really into. Yeah, see, that's something I don't know nothing about. I can kind of guess what it is based on the name, but I don't know shit about Chicago footwork. So yeah, that's probably pretty niche. At least outside Chicago. Yeah, you gotta love when people make up reasons for why people are into what they're into instead of just asking them and then taking them at their word. It's always gotta be like, well, this thing is about young girls, so therefore if you're into it, you're a pedophile. And it's like, what if you're just a young girl? Would that be a reason to be into it? Or what if you watched it when you were a teenager and you're still a fan? Or what if you just like cute outfits? Or you actually just think the story is well told? Like, I don't know. There's so many. Have I listened to Black Country New Road? Not really. I think I tried one time and I just didn't really. It's not my vibe. Too like serious feeling, I guess. From what I heard. What's your magical girl transformation like? I've never considered that, actually. I've never thought about what would my magical girl transformation be like. Brianna W says, I love Black Country New Road. I haven't been listening to a whole lot of music lately. I hate to say it, but since quitting marijuana, I have not been nearly as much in a musical headspace, because what I used to do is stand in the bathroom and listen to music while I smoke for like hours out of every day, and now I don't do none of that. So, I throw on music like in the car or just random songs, but like a lot of what I've been listening to is more like nostalgia. I was listening to Tool this morning. It's why I started off the stream singing Schism, because I woke up and I thought of Schism and I put it on. And I've been really, really nostalgia diving on Coheed and Cambria. And that also adds to the 2009 aspect, because even though I got into Coheed earlier than that, 2009 was probably the year when I downloaded all of the Shibuti, like deep, rare cuts. And I recently have been listening to those again. So, like, that's the real deep shit. I'm like the world's biggest Shibuti fan. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Shibuti, but it's Coheed and Cambria before they were Coheed and Cambria. It's all music that Claudio Sanchez does not want people listening to. He is not happy about it. He's rather ashamed, and I'm like, I don't care. Jeweler says, you quit smoking? I did. I quit back in January. And it's improved my life dramatically. So I have no desire to go back to it anytime. I did one time smoke a tiny bit on 420 with my mom, and I didn't like it. And so I was like, oh, thank God I stopped doing this. Alf Rules, through Tool lyrics, describes exactly the conclusion I came to from smoking on 420, which is overthinking, overanalyzing, separates the body from the mind. Withering my intuition. Second album, Ants From Up There, might click with you knowing the context about their frontman leaving the band and how most of the lyrics is colored with that context. Maybe. You seem like a Primus enjoyer. I've never really gotten into Primus. I only know Shibuti because of your videos. Yeah, like I said, I'm the biggest Shabuti fan. It's spelled Shabutie. Shabuti. I'm thinking about doing some Shabuti cover songs. Because why not? Right now I've got Sun Blue stuck in my head. Oh man, why am I such a fucking nerd? Alright, I gotta go pee. I'll be right back. Sun Blue. Oh yeah. I'm back. Get Frizzle Fry on Whams? Maybe. I could definitely see Primus being a good Whams do. I remember your Let's Plays having frequent Coheed and Cambria rants. I think the only thing I know about them is from those rants. Yeah, I've been thinking about bringing back Coheed and Cambria rants. I was considering launching a whole series of like in-depth analysis of every Coheed song and just doing that on the Nova Loves Music channel. But then I realized like that is excessively ambitious of a thing to jump into. So instead I might just do some rants, just do some Coheed thought dumps, because my Coheed and Cambria autism is deep. And I recently finally read some of the comics for the first time, which are fucking abject madness. Pissed my GF off, need advice. For context, we lesbians, basically I kept her up all night singing karaoke when she had work in the morning. She pissed as hell. How can I win her back? Does she like food? Bring her her favorite food. And candy. Especially if you can bring it to her at work before she goes out for lunch. That's my best guess. I don't know. I don't find myself in that kind of position very often. Why were you singing? Why'd you keep her up all night singing karaoke? Were you drunk? Sounds like a drunk decision. Please do an overanalyzing of Coheed. I'd love that. She has an eating disorder. She hates eating. Damn. Okay. She hates eating. What is she into? You just gotta make up for it by being apologetic and bringing her something she likes, I would assume. I don't know. Like I said, I don't find myself in this position, so I'm not really the person to come to for advice about this. If anyone's gonna get kept up all night by drunk karaoke, it's me. And if you wanted to make up to it for me, you'd just have to buy me food, but you're still drunk. It's 11 in the morning. I don't know where you are. I assume you mean you haven't stopped, like you were so drunk you haven't stopped being drunk. Why is being an outsider to culture a bad thing? I don't think it is. I just think that it's less safe. Like, I still am an outsider to culture for the most part, but I feel safer being a more recognizable factor in the world. I feel like if people can't get a good read on you, then they are more likely to, you know, either dismiss you or aggress upon you. So it's really just a matter of safety. Being an outsider makes me feel unsafe compared to being a recognized factor. Do you have any thoughts on the influence of anime into rap culture, like with Megan Thee Stallion and other rap and hip-hop artists? Not really. It's cool. It's cool that there are a lot of hip-hop fans who are into anime. I think Denzel Curry definitely makes a lot of music that is like supposed to sound like Goku powering up, and he does a great job of it. Yeah, Joshua Rabbit said, in a relationship, it's your job to best understand your partner's motivations, not random people on the internet. For sure. Yeah, I mean there are some answers that do work for lots of people, but like if your partner doesn't like food, I don't know that I have enough in common with her to give you advice about anything. Ooh. Does she like coffee? I don't know. Some people don't like being placated either. So you say flowers can be a nice thing, but that wouldn't work for me because I view flowers as a thing I now have to take care of. Or else watch it die sadly. And I don't want either of those things. Interesting question. Senseiru says, that's what I don't get. You're an outsider for a reason, and you are sort of forced into a way of being that makes you antagonistic to others. Why not embrace that? Why would you want to feel safe? Why would you want to feel safe is a bit of a wild question. I don't like danger. There's no appeal to danger, being in danger. I would always prefer to feel safe. I mean, granted, this is why I don't really go out much, because I don't feel like it's safe to be in a lot of places a lot of the time. That said, I also go out more than I think most other people because I do feel safe in more places, but I don't know. Who doesn't want to feel safe? What the fuck are you talking about? Now I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Why would you want to feel safe? Who doesn't want to feel safe? I don't like feeling unsafe at all. That's a terrible feeling. Especially feeling like other people don't feel safe around you. That really sucks. I'd rather feel unsafe that compromised otaku culture. I don't know what you mean by that. You have to understand that you are more or less sacrifices yourself so you can be afforded safety from a collective that hates you. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about I like things, and then other people discover that those things are likable, and now I fit in better. We're not talking about me changing what I like to fit in. We're talking about what makes you fit in changing to be closer to what I like. That's a great thing. That's Senseiru is safe no matter what because weapons cannot penetrate his bioengineered exoskeleton. Trixie, everybody is a coward. Yeah, exactly. Why would you want to be unsafe in a world like I don't feel like I've had to sacrifice anything to become more safe. I just feel like the world has changed in a way that I feel safer inside of it. We're not talking about sacrificing being an otaku to be accepted by normies. We're talking about normies being closer to otaku. Like, there was a time where being really into anything was, like, frowned upon, and now it's way more normal. So, like, it's just a safer world to be an otaku in, you know? You say Pokemon getting more popular means seeing more Pokemon stuff out there, but then you have the Logan Pauls making Pokemon cards more expensive. Well, luckily I don't collect Pokemon cards, so that hasn't been a problem for me, but um yeah, I'm not very bothered by that. From my perspective, like, I'm talking about, like, how safe do I feel when I go to the store, right? Like, I used to go to the store and feel like a freak. And now I go to the store and I still feel like a freak, but I feel like it's okay to be a freak, if that makes sense, in a way that it didn't feel okay before. Where is the danger exactly, and why let normies or the culture determine whether you are safe or not? What do you mean? What determines whether you're safe is whether or not somebody wants to beat your ass. Like, where is the danger? The danger is everywhere. I think we must have very different ideas of what safety is. I'm talking about, like, physical safety, like whether or not I will be killed for just existing as myself. That's what I'm thinking about. Am I going to be run out of a place? You know, um am I going to be physically destroyed for being myself is what I'm concerned about. See, you say normies being closer to otaku is not a good thing. There's been this epidemic of LARPers. I don't see how that's an issue at all. I don't understand the complaint about LARPers. Doesn't mean it means nothing to me. I cannot imagine being upset about LARPers. I don't get it. I don't get what there is to be upset about. People are pretending to like stuff I like. Okay. That's pretty funny. Like, I cannot imagine finding that a problem. What sort of place do you live where you can't go to the store without being jumped? Norfolk, Virginia. I think I'm less at risk of being jumped than a lot of people are around here, but yes, thank you. Red Letter gets it. Am I in danger of being run out of my life? Ah, yes, the trans experience. Thank you. You understand what's happening here. Am I going to be detained by ICE because I look faggy? Like, that's what I'm worried about when I go outside. Sivinol said, I'm so old, Lamau. LARPers is such a nothing issue. Yeah, I feel that way too. I'm like, I'm 35. What the fuck do I care? No, thank you said. However, there is a real issue which happened with Lane, Azudayo, and Tsubahebe where the signs from a meaningful piece of art are reproduced ever more disconnected from their meaning. That's what Lane was about, though. If that didn't happen, then Lane wouldn't have lived up to its own messaging. That's literally the messaging of the show. So it had to happen. That was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Which then harms the experience of the text itself because you cannot separate it from its social context even if you try to ignore it. No, that helps the text. That is textual to Lane. That is part of the text. The text of the show is that what you are is warped the second someone else sees it. Sinceru, you don't sound like you go outside very much. I'm going to be honest. The way you're describing, you're like, why not bare some teeth? Why let normies conquer you? They are bigger than me. They have more weaponry than I have. They have a larger number of people. Like, you cannot fight the ocean by yourself. Like, the only trans people I know seem to have a will I be destroyed simply for existing mentality on a regular basis. But a brief look at history and political discourse, it's not unwarranted. Exactly. I'd be more concerned about hate crime in general where I'm from. Yeah. Like, I am not very concerned about violence being done against me, but it's because I do think that what I am has become more or less normalized to the place I'm in. And I don't mean that, like, it's normal to be trans here or normal to be like an otaku here. I just think that it's recognizable. I can't go outside without seeing anime t-shirts. Like, literally, I can't. If I were to go outside and walk around, I will see somebody in a bleached shirt within 10 minutes, you know? So, like, I don't feel like I'm going to get weird looks for the fact that I might wear, you know, like some anime shit or something like that. Like, I'm not going to get fucking run out of a place for being, you know, into weird stuff. I don't think it's completely unacceptable to be gay in the place that I live. That's luck, you know. Sinceru, you are full of fucking shit. I have a spine and openly say I like cute girl anime, and usually at the dismay of normies. What fucking normies? Are you walking up to people in the grocery store and being like, I like cute girl anime? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're not, like, randomly cold approaching normies to tell them about how you like cute girl anime. We're in different worlds. We're talking about different subjects. You're, like, talking about fucking a conversation you have with a kid in high school. I'm talking about living in the world. Brianna W. says, I was in Norfolk recently and felt much safer than I did in Texas. Went a nice vinyl lounge in Norfolk. I'm moving away from Texas partially because of how I feel living here. Yeah, Texas is a very not safe place, in my mind. Like, I don't know what part of Texas you're talking about, but, like, Dallas has some real scary parts. Houston has some real scary parts. Norfolk has scary parts, but only if you are living in a place like you. There are pockets of Norfolk where everyone's getting shot all the time. But you have to really be in that pocket for that to be a problem for you. I'm mostly disconnected from the LARPer issue, but I did recently get suspended from Discord because certain Lucky Star fans dislike my acceptance of the racy and unwholesome parts of Lucky Star. I mean, that's funny. You got suspended from Discord? Like, what did you say to them? Like, how did that... What did you say that you got? Like, I feel like there's more to that story. I got a hella parasocial relationship with you, Trixie, but not in a weird ass way. I just been watching you so long, you know, since I was like 14. I'm 26 now, girl, and a full ass grown woman to boot. Yeah, no, that's normal. I understand that. Most of my relationships are parasocial, so it's precisely this assumption of inferiority of which this was given to you by the culture. I'm not talking about assumptions of anything. I'm physically small. I am 5'8" and 130 pounds. If somebody wants to beat my ass, they can do that. I'm not talking about that I feel small. I'm talking about that I am small, and that if I were like, if say fucking a ICE agent pulled up and was like, "You're getting deported," I'm not fighting them. Like, they're deporting me. You know, like, it's happening. Like, again, we live in different worlds. You're talking about a different category of lifestyle that I'm talking about. Konata's dad, Konata herself playing adult games, Hiyori being into yaoi, pretty much all the otakus in itself. Lucky Star has some manner of things that are unwholesome. Yeah, the fact that there are people who are like a fan of a thing but then like in denial of parts of the thing is pretty funny. It's when you talk to these LARPers about the medium and how. Why are you talking to them? Don't talk to them. I don't talk to very many people. Like, I talk to people I know and that's it. If I don't know them, I assume they suck. Like, if they were cool, I would know them already. If they're not cool, I'm not talking to them, you know, like, so I don't run into this issue of like starting a conversation with somebody and then realizing that they're like a fake fan. Like, it just wouldn't happen to me because I'm not out looking for fans of a thing to talk to. I just talk to my friends, you know. Sinceru, you are not in reality. You're in a different world. You are in a different type of a world than the one I live in, which is the real world. Well, you never finish Umineko, though. That's like the one thing where I'm like, come on now. I'll get there, probably. I don't know. It's fucking long. I don't know if you noticed. It's really fucking long. Uh, I don't have the attention span for long things. Senseiru, what I really want to do is start grilling you about your otaku credentials, because I would bet you're not even that much of an otaku. Like, you are more obsessed with the identity of being an otaku than actually just being an otaku. I haven't seen you talk about one otaku thing. You've just talked about identity politics the whole time. Brody said just crashing out mentally about media literacy. Media literacy is completely. Well, you know what? It's in two worlds, right? Like, media literacy is like simultaneously at its height, where there's like more people expressing media literacy than ever before, but it's also like at like the most obviously dead. I don't know, it's weird. Sinceru, lol, I'm not otaku. That's what you're not acting like otaku. You keep saying that you are otaku and then not demonstrating any otaku behavior. Lamu Ui said, I'm trans femme, live in a relatively safe area, have long hair, wear gender neutral clothes, and being on HRT for a while. One time walking my dogs in the park, heard a man scream at me, doll/muñeca in Spanish. He screamed doll at you? That's an interesting. I can't tell if that's meant to be insulting or not, actually. Dull is like a compliment, right? I don't know. I guess it would be very contextual. Getting screamed at always feels weird. But you're calling yourself the Golden Witch. I love you, but I hate to say that's kind of poser. I don't. I hope I've established I don't care about looking like a poser. Who gives a fuck? You know who gets mad at posers? Fucking this guy who won't prove he's an otaku. I must be some crazy outlier then. Just talk about Senseiru, what do you like? What is your otaku passion? What are you an otaku for? What's your favorite fucking anime? What's your favorite visual novel? What's your favorite manga? Like, just spit out some otaku credentials here. Who's your favorite Toho character? What's your favorite Nico Nico Doga meme? What's your favorite fucking Vocaloid song? You gotta have something. Who's your favorite VTuber? There's gotta be some kind of otaku credential you could display. Instead, you're just full of shit here in the chat. I simply don't believe you, and I won't believe you until you prove yourself. I've been otaku since 2003. I highly suspect that's longer than you've been alive. I was like, does he know doll is a term for trans femmes, or does he mean it another way? I was like, so everyone is knowing that doll means trans femme. Yeah, that's why I'm like, does he know or does he not know? And if he does know, why would he be shouting it at you? If he doesn't know, still, why is he people who shout things in public are strange. I don't remember if I talked about this publicly, but like a couple months ago, I was just on a walk through my neighborhood, and like I was kind of on the outskirt of the neighborhood where there's a main-ish road, and I was just wearing like I don't know, t-shirt, short shorts probably, and carrying my purse. You know, I've got really long hair, so I definitely pass more from behind than from the front. But some random dude pulls over like on the side of the road next to me, and he shouts to me what this is how it sounded to me, and I don't have the best audio processing, but it sounded like he said, "Hey, you the lobby, ain't ya?" And I just went, "What?" and kept walking. And then he completely U-turned and drove off. And I was like, I don't know if that guy thought he was soliciting a prostitute or trying to make a drug deal. I don't know who he thought I was. I don't know what the lobby means, and if that's what he said. But I was very confused. I was like, I guess I'm the lobby? What the fuck is this guy talking about? It was strange. It was very strange. Sensei, how do you prove yourself? We just told you. Top 3 right now: Girls Last Tour, Manabi Straight, Ichigo Marshmallow. Did you just like Google like otaku anime and then pick? So you're just a lolicon. Is that all this is? Like you're just like, oh, I'm a lolicon, so therefore I'm a true otaku. Is that the idea here? Like, look, those are all good. They're all good anime. It just when you pick those 3 specifically, I can't help but think. It just seems like you like lollies. Most anime is best watched through hype aura clips. LARPers have the right idea. Fuck watching the show, just pull up the Sakuga. Exactly. You know how much of a fucking waste of time it is to watch a whole show? Walking as a means of transit in rural or urban or rural adjacent areas has been fraught forever. Car windows spew nonsense and hate. Yeah. Yeah, I would hate to be walking in a I don't even live in a rural or rural adjacent area. I live fucking in the middle of a an endless suburb. Senseiru, stop conflating what you do to otaku. Otaku is a otaku is a lot more than that. No, thank you. Why are you complaining about Brody? Brody is my friend and a mod, I'm pretty sure, in the chat. So I'm called a lolicon for liking otaku anime. This is so cooked. Dog, you just named 3 shows that are just lolly shows. Like, I don't know how else to take it. It seems like that's what you're trying to do. Like, I didn't even I didn't even say it like insultingly, you know. Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. All right. Y'all have gotten too focused on this this character in the chat. See, this is why larpers are annoying. I definitely think this comes off as a larp. It definitely feels like a larp. I know there are real otaku here witnessing this right now. Look, man, I like all 3 of those shows you mentioned, but if you name those 3 shows in a row, I'm just saying, like. No, thank you, says I gotta come to Senseiru's defense. I know the guy and he watches anime. Alright, I'll take your word for it. But he's got a real persecution complex that he needs to work on. Being an otaku doesn't mean being a fucking social pariah. It means you are really into certain shit. Like it's not a fucking you know. Yeah, pick me energy. Thank you, Comedy Bun. That is exactly how I would describe it. You've got otaku pick me energy. Otaku don't usually go running around like claiming about how much of an otaku they are either. It's not like, like otaku are usually just like doing the thing they're into. Like I would believe you were an otaku if I found out you were just like playing Toho on a second monitor and listening to the stream at the same time, but you know, you're just like, I'm into anime from 2007. Like, okay. I kind of gotta pee again. All right, find me something to talk about other than this fool. Isn't it a sign of how mainstream animes become? There could be otaku pick me. I think that guy just wants to be into. I think he feels like he is an enemy of society, and therefore he wants an identity that backs that up. I hear this guy, I Don't Mind Rotting, made a pretty good video recently. There's a topic. I haven't seen your new video yet, but I will believe that it's probably cool. Everybody check out I Don't Mind Rotting's new video. I have ebbed and flowed on Welcome to the Space Show, but on my most recent rewatch, it was just such a delight to the fucking eyes that I still can't help but love it. Yeah, I can't remember a time I've ever watched it and not been like, damn, this is really fun. Brody's gross reaction to Lolly is a reason I feel kind of unsafe showing my power level. I don't know if it's a joke or not, but public expression of disgust often result in very scary things happening. You shouldn't reveal your power level. That's just not a thing you should do. That's the point of hiding your power level, is that you don't reveal it. There is not a safe space to be into that. That's something you're supposed to... Look, this channel is not a safe space, period. This is not a place for you to feel safe about anything. This is a place for you to fight about ideas. This is not a safe place. You shouldn't reveal your power level. Do you not take pride in who you are? Pride is for idiots. Pride is for people who want to get shot. Don't be a fucking pick-me. Don't be a fucking edgelord. Don't be flaunting your Think like Free-Ren. Do you think she goes around blasting her power level all the fucking time? No, she keeps that shit on the down low. That's the point. Of, like, no strong person goes around blasting their power level all the time, because then people just want to fight you. This is 101 of having strength. You have the strength so you don't have to use it. Any fucking martial arts will teach you that. If you go around going, I'm a fucking black belt. Did you know I'm a black belt? Hey everybody, I'm a black belt. Guess what? Everyone wants to kick your ass. What you're supposed to do is go around looking nonchalant, and then when somebody comes up to you and is like, hey, motherfucker, you go, wah, and fucking fuck them up. Yeah, comedy bun. Not everyone needs to see every side of you. That's the point of having and finding people to be close with. Or just be comfortable enough with yourself. If you're not comfortable enough with yourself to keep things to yourself, then you don't have pride. Pride isn't going around telling everybody how great you are. It's feeling great. You don't need any reaffirmation if you have real self-love. Senseiru, you are now saying the literal opposite of what you were saying before, so I don't know how you are in such a state of cognitive dissonance that you're not recognizing that. This conversation started with me saying that it was cool that the world has changed in such a way that I fit into it more. And you said, why would you want to fit in? And now you're saying, why not aspire for a way of being to where who you are has a place in the world? That's what I said in the first fucking place. So now you've completely contradicted yourself. This is how I know that you're just not really even thinking about what you're saying. You're so trapped in the identity politics of the idea that you are an otaku and an outcast that you've lost the plot on your own point. Cow tools. I'm Manabi gay. That's pretty funny. I have not seen the Backrooms movie. I'm not interested. Not my genre. I don't know any new anime movies that have come out lately. I can't remember the last time I saw a new anime movie, actually. I guess Chainsaw Man, but that was like a while ago. As for video games, I'm excited about the Toho 6 remake. I got an emulator on my phone that will let me play basically any old video game I want, but I haven't decided what I want to play. Have I talked about the Ocarina of Time remake? No, but what is there really to say? All there's been is a screen cap of Link. He looks like Link, but more human than ever before. Chainsaw Man movie was a while ago. I thought that was recent. I think it was like 2 years ago, wasn't it? Reze Arc. I mean, I think I saw it last year, but... Okay, it was... Oh, wow, it was September 19th of last year. That's more new than I realized. I don't know. 2015 feels like an eternity ago to me. I tend to live my life in 3-month chunks. If it's more than 3 months ago, I don't really remember that it happened. If it's more than 3 months ahead, I can't conceive of the idea that it's going to happen. Yeah, the new sprites for the Scarlet Devil remake look amazing. That's all my day was, the Nintendo Direct day. Like, I saw people talking about the Nintendo Direct, nothing sounded interesting, and then I saw a video that's like, Toho 6 remake? They only announced it on the Japanese version of Nintendo Direct, and I was like, what the fuck? I spent all day researching it and watching reactions, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. There was a recent Chainsaw Man Jujutsu Kaisen crossover manga? I did not know that. I got a bad feeling the Ocarina of Time remake is going to have a lot of Breath of the Wild DNA in it. I wonder how much they're really going to change. Are we looking at more of a... Because they already remade it on the 3DS, and that was basically just, like, purely cosmetic. There was, like, a few minor changes to gameplay, but mostly it was just the same game again. If they go the Final Fantasy VII remake route, that would be fascinating. Because at some point you have to ask, like, is this even Ocarina of Time anymore, or is this just a new game that has a lot of the same ideas, you know? I feel like if a movie is less than 10 years old, it's new, but my wife calls movies older than 5 years old. Yeah, it's very contingent on the individual. I will sometimes call something from the same year old or new, depending on just how old it feels to me. I guess it's like how much have I continued thinking about it since then as well, you know? Like if it's still fresh in my mind, I might not think of it as very old. Don't have high hopes for the Ocarina of Time remake. I mean, I'm just not gonna play it because it's on the Switch too, and I'm not probably getting one of those for a while. So I don't play a lot of video games, and so I don't have a ton of like opinions about like that kind of thing. You know, like I haven't even played the 3DS Ocarina of Time, so. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to maintain a general like I don't get hype about stuff because you never know until you actually engage with it if it'll be good or not. The only thing I've allowed myself to get hype about this year, now there's two things. The first thing is the new Ghost in the Shell, and I've been hyped about that for a few months now. And the second thing is now the Embodiment of Scarlet Devil remake. Those are the only two things I have allowed myself to be hype about because they look great. And I have no reason to doubt that they'll be great so far. It's possible they won't be, and I'll be disappointed. But it seems pretty likely those two things will be great. And I have little reason to doubt it. Last time I really got hyped for something was Elden Ring, and it was, in fact, great. The guy in charge of Zelda is on record saying Absolute Freedom is objectively better than the formula they had before, so I expect it'll be very different. Well, that'll be weird. I don't know if I agree with that, because all I really remember about Breath of the Wild is climbing mountains I wasn't supposed to be climbing yet. Dropping in to send love from Sydney. Cool. Ocarina of Time Part 1. Link is a child for the whole thing and fights Ganon in the end. Oh boy. How much Elden Ring did I play? I got up to Renala, so like probably less than half. I got Bird into it, and he ended up beating it over and over and over again. Hyped about Wild Wood. I don't even know what that is. Well, I am become bored. I feel like I've made my point about what the title of this stream was, Anime versus Otaku. I'm surprised I have 54 viewers right now. That's more than I usually have concurrently on a stream. I don't know if that's just because I've been screaming at someone or what. I still haven't played Tears of the Kingdom. I do want to, though, because it's been a long time since I played Breath of the Wild, so I don't think I'll have the issue of, oh no, I just played this world that a lot of people had. Bird's a speedrunner? No, not at all. Bird had never actually played a FromSoft game until Elden Ring. And then he really liked it. And it made going back to the older ones a lot harder for him to get into because they, don't have the sort of quality of life adjustments that game made. Any anime you've changed your mind on? Like, probably all of them. Yo, that guy's still here. Yeah, I know. I can't, there's only so much I can engage with somebody just like not even presenting in like a fathoming of what I'm saying. Like he's got his own idea of what he thinks I'm saying that isn't what I'm saying, and I tried to engage with it and get him closer to understanding, but he hasn't gotten any closer. And so at some point I have to go, "All right, I've shut you out. You're not thinking about you anymore. You're done." What level of otaku are you if you read eroge visual novels? I mean, that is like the most otaku thing, pretty much. But I don't think there's really. I guess there must be some kind of levels to it, but I just see it as if you participate in otaku culture. Like to me, otaku is a culture. It's not something you really just are because of certain things you consume or whatever. It's like you would know. You would know if you were otaku because you are in otaku culture, you know? Bro thinks he's the next Roy Thomas. You wish. Reading is LARPer stuff. Real ones only look at pictures. True, though. Uh, I am. I would not even consider myself to be really a part of otaku culture right now because I can't say that I know what is like big in otaku culture right now. Like I know Senseiru's not an otaku because he named a bunch of 2007 anime and was like, "This is my otaku cred," and I'm like, "Bro, that's old. Like that's not what otaku are doing in the year of our Lord 2026." Like, um, new things have happened. You know, there's stuff to catch up on. Like, I would have considered myself at my like the most otaku I ever probably felt was in 2009. You know. Howdy, howdy, Gigadonk. You missed all the screaming and yelling and berating. You ain't otaku unless you're jacking it at least 3 times daily. That seems like kind of low numbers, to be honest. But otaku is when you visit your local model train meetup. If you're a train otaku, then for sure. Trixie, you are retired otaku. You earned your keep. You are a real one. That's really funny. Retire the otaku retirement home. Yeah, I don't know. I live mostly within my own bubble. I'm not very participant in like any particular culture. Brody told me there was some idiot defending lolly shit in here, Lamau. I don't even know if that was so much his goal as just trying to prove that he is real otaku. Um, but that did seem to be what he meant by it. I don't know. Wildwood is the new upcoming Studio Leica film. Okay. Comedy Bun. The idea that any fandom label is definable is really only valuable for people that often teens seeking identity and having something a cultural label helps as training wheels. Definitely true. Great video by King Green, a YouTuber I really like. He made a video called "Black Rock Music Sucks," but it's not actually making that claim. It's deconstructing that claim, and basically talking about how genre isn't real. It's a marketing thing. Like, but a big part of that marketing is identity marketing. It's like the label, like the reason that country music is taken as a white thing is that marketers want you to like say, oh well, I'm white, so I listen to country. You know, it's not that the style of music is somehow inherently white. It's that marketing wants you to think of it that way, so that if you care about yourself being white, you will gravitate towards this thing, because it's easier to market towards somebody who has a sense of identity couched in their in their consumption habits. So, yeah, to label yourself on the basis of the stuff you consume is basically just to mean you're a fucking rube and you have fallen for marketing. Labels are for babies. And not cool babies. Lame babies. I feel like I'm throwing babies under the bus by saying otherwise. Me working as an artist for Toho World Cup probably counts as otaku, but like that's a bubble. It's all bubbles nowadays, for sure. Gigadonk says, I am the one true otaku. I have 3 eyes, and the third one is an anime eye. Whoa. Toxic otakulinity? That's pretty funny. Described as a retired weeb. Gigadog, why does everyone think you're a lolicon if you aren't one? You must have messed up real bad somewhere in your chat messages to Senseiru. Yeah. He's just been a real confusing clusterfuck of a person today. I don't know if he didn't get good sleep. Maybe hasn't eaten yet. You know. But he hasn't really done a good job of presenting a consistent sense of identity that can be construed, you know. It's so the combination of elements was insisting that his taste is so crazy that normies would reject it, and then saying his top 3 favorite anime were all 3 shows with like a predominantly lolly cast. And so it's like, well, okay, if these are the 2 things you're using to identify yourself, kind of looks like there's something going on there, you know? Like if your top 3 are lolly shows and nobody like, because you can claim those are your 3 favorite shows and present that in a way that makes it sound like not lolicon, but that's not what happened. He presented it in a way where he was like, yeah, I tell people I'm into shows about cute girls and they think I'm a freak, and I don't even care because I'm proud of myself for being a freak. And it's like, there's nothing freaky about liking those 3 shows unless you are a lolicon. Like, that's what makes it weird. If it was not weird, you know, it would be different, but I gotta go scrub toilets. Godspeed. If you don't think Manabi Straight is a lolly show, I don't know how to have any more conversation about this. Oh boy. Ichigo as in Bleach Ichigo. Yeah, could have at least said you liked Da Capo. Exactly. That would have been no accusations lobbied in that case. Or again, made the argument that you like the shows in a non, you know, weird way, but you made it seem like you like them in a way that causes people to think you are weird, you know. Anyway, I don't think Senseiru knows how to like have like communications on a level that should be done in a public forum like this. I don't think you were ready for this league. I think you need to go back to the drawing board. Reconsider your choices. There's probably a place for you somewhere on the internet, but this isn't the right one. The world will never understand why I like these shows. Yeah, Zydias, thank you. This is the exactly reasonable take. As long as you aren't doing harm to others, being proud of your interests is fine, but that doesn't mean you need to express that pride IRL everywhere you go. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to communicate to this guy. Like, bro, like, you can be a proud otaku to yourself. If your expectation is that other people are going to understand, you need to be real fucking good at explaining yourself. But why do you need them to understand? And the fucked up part is that at first he was saying that. He was saying, like, why not just be proud of yourself and just be, like, okay with the fact that people don't like you? And I'm like, okay, that would be one thing if you were keeping it to yourself and you're like, other people wouldn't care about this, but I'm just going to enjoy it by myself. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, no, why don't you go aggressively confront people with how weird you are and embrace the hatred? And I'm like, well, that's madness. That's how you get your ass beat, You're going to tell the wrong random fucking person one day that your favorite anime is Ichigo Marshmallow, and they're going to look at it and then they're going to hit you. Like, I see genre as a loose taxonomy made since our brains like categorizing. I think it has degrees of utility, but also see what you mean by how manufactured and exaggerated divides exist for marketing. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that whole statement. Detain Senseiru in a bunker underground and force him to watch the Endless Eight on an infinite loop. A real otaku would enjoy that, though. Any true otaku would create a spreadsheet of every difference in each version of the Endless Eight episode. I'm going to strap them to a chair and force them to watch normie anime. It's just 50 hours of Adam Sandler movies. That would be fucking funny, actually. 50 hours of Adam Sandler movies is just every Adam Sandler movie once, probably, right? Like, there's got to be 50 hours of Adam Sandler movies. The true torment would be to make him watch 50 First Dates 50 times. That's what you really got to do. Remember that podcast where it was just like some guys watching, I think it was Jack and Jill, like every day and podcasting about it or something like that? I'm realizing Senseiru is actually practicing what they preach by being deliberately combative. It has to be, this is like their... Sometimes I think, like, this person is doing this because this is what they like. Like, that the guy was complaining at the start, Shadow Priest. Like, we reached a point in the conversation with him where he was like, isn't it just fun to argue sometimes? And it's like, okay, so you just like causing arguments. Like, that is what you find fun, like, that's the only type of communication With Senseiru, I have a sense of, like, I can't tell if this person is doing this because they're enjoying it or if they just don't know another way. Like, this is the only way they know how to be, and so they're stuck in it, It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell sometimes. Yeah, Zydia says, I'm effectively a Toby Fox otaku, and I'm not going to try to talk to it all the time to random people IRL. Yeah. I think I honestly think even normies have things that they think it would be weird to bring up to other people IRL. Like, even normies are gonna like at least make sure, like, they're gonna be like, hey, did you watch Love Island? No, I don't watch that. Oh, okay. I'm not going to now spend 20 minutes telling you what happened on Love Island. You know, like, we're not gonna have a whole conversation about it if you haven't watched it. But maybe I just don't interact with enough people IRL, but I actually can't imagine someone just beating up some random guy they don't like. I also can't imagine walking up to somebody and announcing to them that you like cute girl anime. So I feel like we got too far into the weeds of like imaginary scenarios in this conversation for it to really make sense. I was talking about like a broad sense of social safety. Like, I was talking about that, like, I feel more at home in the world when other people understand the things that I represent, you know? Like a very nebulous, very vague feeling. And then Senseiru was like, no, you should just be like making people hate you all the time because that's what a real otaku would do. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, you know. But we got so far into the weeds of that discussion that it left reality. Senseiru, I think your way of being is contemptible, so we actually agree with each other perfectly. Your contempt means nothing to me. It does not in any way harm me. I can absorb your contempt and let it just dissolve into nothingness. Trixie, you literally told everyone here to fight over topics and subject matters. You said this is that place, but I can read the room. That moment has passed. Now, look, we all got to be fighting for freedom. Fighting for the freedom to tell people to shut the fuck up. We live in a world of nothing but contradiction. The only real way to navigate it is insanity. I really gotta pee again. Bradley the Davis said, I wish I could just easily talk about visual novels at normies, but they don't even know what a visual novel is. I mean, frankly, a lot of the stuff I like, I can't even talk to non-normies about. I can't even talk to my friends about because they don't know or care. Like Shibuti. I keep talking about Shibuti. I do not know one person who listens to Shibuti. I've never met a Shibuti fan. I've never converted a Shibuti fan. To a lot of people, Shibuti is just a subject that comes up in my videos that is of mild curiosity because it's a funny word. They're like, why do you keep saying Shibuti? That's funny. You know? But nobody here knows Sun Blue. Nobody here knows fucking Cassiopeia. Nobody here knows fucking Star Cecil. Nobody here even knows fucking Strung Short. That's the only one that Claudio still acknowledges. I'm over here watching fucking Shibuti performance videos from the late 90s. No one to talk to about it. That's why I started making YouTube videos in the first place, was to talk about shit that I didn't know anybody who talks about. None of these LARPers got the Da Capo joke, but you were a real one, Trixie. I'm just old. Giga Dog said diplomacy is something I reserve for more tangible social spaces than YouTube comments. Yeah, I don't do diplomacy at all. I just say shit. I only really take into account the opinions of people I actually have meaningful relationships with, to be fair. Yeah, pretty much. And that's not a lot of people for me. Yes, Lena Dance Machina, exactly. We now live in a world where even the normies relate a little to being a little freako about an interest. They've encountered it more now. Exactly. That was pretty much all I was saying in the first place. Is like, yeah, it's nice. It's nice that people at least get where you're coming from. They're not like, what the fuck is wrong with you? They're like, oh, you're one of those, you know? Red Lared said, why would anyone be diplomatic about their own comment section? It's literally their own site-mandated bubble to lord over. Why give chat any power at all? Well, so that you could take it away. You gotta be like an anti-spiral. I looked up Da Capo and Manami straight on my work computer during this stream. Good. It's not a Trixie stream if you don't hear her pee at least twice. Man, I really tried to keep it quiet, too. Diplomacy is based when the people in chat are being chill and respectful. I'm not going to fight random strangers over nothing, but if one starts acting like a goober, I stop caring. Yeah. Petra has returned from breakfast. I have returned from breakfast. I heard it in like a video game, like, you know, one of those like omnipresent voices that sounds like it's coming from inside your head. No Thank You knows what a visual novel is. Talk to No Thank You about it. Are there plans to finish Disco Elysium? Yes. I will hopefully finish that game. I put it on hold so that I could fucking finish my goddamn Cyrano video and live life a little bit. What do you mean no one knows Cassiopeia? The song by goddamn Shibuti. Cassio, Cassio. Yeah, but who has actually read the Da Capo visual novels here other than you? Probably no one. I would highly doubt that anyone else here has read the Da Capo visual novels, but it's possible. Ghost in the Shell versus Deno Coil? Ghost in the Shell. Deno Coil is cool, but Ghost in the Shell is Ghost in the Shell. Oh, man. I can't stop thinking about Shibuti. I can't stop fucking playing Sun Blue in my head. Nah, Sun Blue. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I said, Sun Blue. Monogatari versus Bunny Girl Senpai. Bunny Girl Senpai is not even watchable. I'm not very into Toho personally, but I listened to the whole Cyrano pod and it was a fun time. Hell yeah. Could you please explain what in the actual fuck is a Shibuti? It was Coheed and Cambria before they were Coheed and Cambria. Look, there's this man named Claudio Sanchez. He lived in a town called Nyack, New York. You're spelling it wrong. It's Shabutie. This man, Claudio Sanchez, had some friends, and they started playing music together in high school. And then their band broke up, and they formed a new band, and that band was called Shibuti. He was like 17. His friends, they were a bunch of high school kids. They had this band called Shibuti. And they played as Shibuti for like 6 years. And then one day, while they were doing a live show as Shibuti, their tuning was all fucked up, and Claudio was having a hard time singing the songs right. And their drummer just got pissed off and packed up his drums in the middle of the set and walked off stage and left the band. And so they recruited the drummer from this band called 3 that was another like relatively local, just upstate New York band. And they formed a new band called Coheed and Cambria. Yes, that's how you spell it. Shibuti. And so Coheed and Cambria would go on to become a really big rock and roll band. They made some songs you might have heard. Like, bye bye, beautiful, don't bother to write, disturbed by your words, and they're calling all chords. A fake stop, let down, a fake step down. Or that one that's like, you could have been all I wanted, but you were honest, and now get in the ground. But before they did all that, they were Shibuti. And Shibuti had like 2 EPs and a demo, and then a bunch of unreleased songs that were recorded like shit in a garage. And most of them are songs. There's apparently many more songs that will never see the light of day because Claudio really doesn't want any more of them to escape. But a bunch of Shibuti songs escaped, and they're all edgy as fuck, and they're in like every different genre of 90s alternative rock that there is. And I really like them. I really like Shibuti. I also really like early Coheed and Cambria, and even some later Coheed and Cambria. They had a song last year that was like one of the best songs they've ever written. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I got a different song in my head. I'm thinking about World of Lines from their 5th album now. This is the hidden truth, the world between the lines. The drummer packed up and walked off mid-set, top 10 anime betrayals of all time. And the funny thing is, I had for years, because I knew that story from their Wikipedia page, so for a long time, I was like, how does that drummer feel about the fact that he left after like 6 years of Shibuti, and then like less than 2 years later, Coheed and Cambria becomes like signed to a label and like a major band. How does he feel about this? And I found out because in 2013, somebody uploaded a bunch of footage of old Shibuti performances, and that old drummer commented on those. And he said he went back to school and got a fucking finance degree, and now he makes decent money and he gets to play music on the side, and as he put it, I don't have to shake down shady industry people for money anymore. But he's never played with the guys from Shibuti since leaving. So I don't know how they feel about him. He's obviously nostalgic about the era, but I don't get the sense he's talked to them since then. But yeah, I learned that from the YouTube comments. Oh my god, it's the band with the album whose cover is the number 4, yes. You could have! That's the one. Their albums are called The Second Stage Turbine Blade, In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Part 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Part 2, No World for Tomorrow, The Year of the Black Rainbow, The Afterman Ascension, The Afterman Descension, The Color Before the Sun. And their last 3 are all part of a series, but I don't remember the name of the series. I can't remember. The latest one was called The Father of Make Believe. I should leave the stream to listen to Shibuya. It sounds interesting. Go for it. Or just open it and listen to it at the same time as the background music to me talking. Listen to the fucking Plan to Take Over the World EP. The first song, they sing the band name. Shabuti, yeah, I'm a disciple. Could have sworn that before a beautiful girl decides to cut me. A lot of their lyrics are edgy as fuck. Also. But I'm okay with it. Yeah, but you ever heard of the Talking Heads? The Talking Heads? I'm pretty sure they're just Talking Heads. I only really know the one song. There's water under the ocean. I have all the comics and the stupid helmet thing they did for their limited edition. You have all the comics? You have them? I want them. Are those, like, still findable? Are those still for sale? What does Shibuya even mean? I think it's like a movie reference. Like it was a line from a movie or something. I don't remember. Shibuya, New Jersey bound. When sound asleep, they'll find you at your most vulnerable. Pole position, speak up, let it out. When down the street, the corner boys fuck shit up. Scream loud, scream sayonara, oh oh. Sweet Josephine, will you follow me home? Scream loud, scream sayonara, oh oh. Sweet Josephine, will you fuck me back home? Let's fire it all up, high, high, and now. Sayonara. Don't let them scare you. The story of the Coheed albums is the most insane, nonsensical, over-the-top, fucking sci-fi narrative ever. It barely makes any sense. Even reading the comics barely makes any sense. And then reading the comics and then trying to figure out how the lyrics relate to the comics is doubly like, what the fuck? How is this that? Coheed and Cambria, by the way, are characters in the comics who die in the first album. Please do an album of Shibuya covers. Face red, heart shape. We love your singing voice. You sound like you're having lots of fun. Thank you. I do want to make some Shibuya covers. I haven't figured out which songs I want to cover or how, because I can't play any instruments, so a lot of it's very guitar driven, and I don't know how to replicate that. A terrible silence shook the crowd, giving a flame to me. No, said I'm giving my best bluff. I'm giving my best bluff. That's strung short. That's the only song that they still acknowledge. Well, I'm a snake in the grass, girl. You better watch, I might strike. And I'm a hard on. It's so dumb, but it's so earnest that I can't help but smile about it constantly. Exactly. That is a great way to describe how I feel about the Coheed and Cambria story. Is this is nuts and it doesn't make any sense and it's horribly written, but it's so they really went for it. They really tried to tell a crushingly ambitious story, but also a lot of it is just why? Why is it so fucking edgy? Why do half the characters exist just to die? Don't accomplish anything other than die. In Amory Wars, there's a character nicknamed Shibuti. I don't know if I made it there. I know that in the very beginning, the kids, Maria and Matthew, just randomly say Shibuti for no reason. They're just Dad's tucking them into the bed, and they're both just Shibuti! Have they made any industrial-sounding songs? Kind of a couple. Later Coheed has a couple of more industrial-sounding songs. I think there was one off their latest album that had a bit of that edge to it. I don't remember what it was called, though. It's so much more complicated than Yu Yu Hakusho or Gurren Lagann. I wouldn't say Coheed and Cambria are false protagonists. It's more like their son, Claudio, is the protagonist, but the first album is largely about the parents. I mean, I could break down, okay, the plot of the first album, Coheed and Cambria were robots created by a guy named Dr. Iroh. He created 3 robots, Coheed, Cambria, and Jesse. But Jesse was separated from the other 2 a long time ago. And basically, they were designed to, destroy the universe, but they've had their memories erased, and Coheed and Cambria went and just, started a normal family. So they've got 4 kids, the eldest daughter, Josephine, the second son, Claudio, and then the twins, Maria and Matthew. And, the story starts off with Coheed being approached by this evil fucking cyborg who works for an evil wizard who's trying to take over the universe. And the cyborg's your kids inherited this, disease from you that will destroy the universe, so you have to murder your children. And basically he convinces Coheed to murder his children. So Coheed poisons Matthew and Maria in their sleep, and they die, and he's all fucking wrecked about it. And then the daughter and the son, the older daughter and son, are just happen to be out of town on this night, right? So the daughter, Josephine, is out with her partner, a guy named Patrick, and he takes her out to Jersey City to an abandoned building. And she's like, why are we out here? This is creepy. And he's like, oh, we used to hang out here. This is a cool spot. And then this biker gang called the Jersey Devils shows up and just beats the shit out of them and rapes Josephine. And then they go back home just sad and defeated. And just in time for Coheed to bludgeon her over the head and murder her, because he was killing the kids with the poison was too nasty. I'm just gonna fucking brain her so she'll die instantly. I don't know how that was a better way to go or whatever. So then Claudio is out with his girlfriend, and he like gets bullied at school and stuff, but he's got a super hot girlfriend named Nuo. And he realizes, oh, it's super late. I got to get home, and my parents are going to kill me, right? Which they literally would have. But basically, some dudes show up with, like, some aliens, and they're like, oh, you tricked us. I didn't even have to kill my kids. Now I have to kill all of you. So Coheed and Cambria fight all these fucking aliens, and they get taken off on a spaceship. And then Claudio comes home and he finds his sister like dead, but when he touches her, because he has special spirit powers, she like comes back to life briefly, just to be like, Claudio, you got to get the fuck out of here. There's an alien monster that's going to kill you if you stay here. And so he flees the scene, and he doesn't realize that his parents killed the kids. He thinks that this alien monster did it, right? But Claudio flees, and basically he knows he's on the run now. So he basically just like leaves a note with his girlfriend, like, hey, I have to escape the planet. And then he like stows away on board a like trash ship or whatever, and flees the planet. So then Coheed and Cambria on this other ship, like, we find out that the reason they've been captured is that this evil wizard, I'm trying to remember the name of the evil wizard, the main bad guy of the series, is this evil wizard who basically wants control of this thing called the Keywork. And if you've ever seen the Coheed and Cambria logo, that's the Keywork. So the Keywork is that there's like 37 planets that are all linked by this like spirit energy, and they're set up like pool balls, like, you know, like before you knock the pool balls, like they're set up like pool balls. There's like 37 planets in a triangle, and the Keywork is what connects them. And so this evil wizard has basically betrayed all the other evil wizards and also this race of like angel people called the Prize, and he's found a way to have power over all of them so he could take control of the Keywork. And just to make himself even more powerful, what he's also been doing is trapping all of the souls of dead people in the Keywork. So people can't pass on to the afterlife because their souls are being used to hypercharge this energy matrix so that this wizard can just be all powerful and control the whole universe. And so part of what he's doing is like an initiative to round up all like freaks and weirdos and people like and like unrecognized races and just like people who won't be missed, and kill them and put their souls into the Keywork to make it stronger. That's his mission. Yeah, he's a Tri-Mage. Fuck, I don't remember what the fuck his name is though. His number one guy, the cyborg dude who convinced Coheed to kill his kids, is a guy named Mayo. Folks, this is all off the dome, by the way. Yeah, this is just me trying to describe the story of this fucking comic, which most of this I already knew this story before I read the comic because I've read people talk about it. Ryan, yes, Wilhelm Ryan, that's the name of the evil Tri-Mage. Wilhelm Ryan is the bad guy. Mayo Orbendorf or something like that is his number 2 guy. And there's another dude who's like a general of his army, but he gets killed on the first album. So Coheed and Cambria get captured by that other general dude, and basically they spend the whole first book like trying to commandeer the ship that they're on and like prevent themselves from being used to destroy the universe. Meanwhile, Mayo is trying to unleash a swarm of like dragonflies. They just keep calling them flies, but the dragonfly on the cover of the album, of their first album, is one of these dragonflies, right? So Mayo is supposed to release dragonflies all over the planet, I think Earth, because the capital of Earth is Paris, and he's in Paris trying to unleash a fly invasion that will just basically kill everybody on Earth and fucking, I guess, give them more souls to feed to the Keywork. I don't remember exactly what the fuck the motive was for this plot. So Mayo is trying to enact the fly plan while the other general is trying to lock down Coheed and Cambria. And ultimately their goal is to get Coheed and Cambria to this planet and inject them with this shit that will unleash their Monstar virus, which is what turns them into like big crazy monsters that can destroy everything. So, and they'll lose control, they'll lose their sense of self, basically. But like, so basically the Monstar that's inside of Coheed can destroy the universe, but the Monstar that's inside of Cambria is meant to stop Coheed. So basically what they're trying to do is have Coheed do a certain amount of damage to the Keywork and then have Cambria stop him, and then they'll kill both of them, and then basically this will help with the evil wizard plan, right? And in the meanwhile, they're not sure what the fuck happened to Claudio. Claudio is off somewhere in the universe, and so Claudio ends up on, it turns out the ship he was on was secretly like a slave delivery ship where they're transporting these aliens to this slave planet where they basically just have like the evil empire like forcing aliens to just like do work or whatever. So Claudio ends up just like living on this slave planet for a while. He meets a guy named Cecil, and for whatever reason they call the alien slaves on this planet stars. That's the pejorative they use for these guys is stars, right? So this guy is Star Cecil, which is a Djibouti song. So they just worked that Djibouti song into the story somehow. But so Star Cecil is like the only like nice guy who kind of helps Claudio out, but then Claudio starts like trying to save people and like doing too much, and Cecil's like, you got to get out of here, you're gonna get us all killed. So Claudio like flees into space and basically just like exists as a space nomad for 6 years. And in the meantime of that, there's Jesse. I mentioned that Coheed and Cambria have a brother named Jesse, right? And Jesse has teamed up with this resistance faction that's trying to take down Wilhelm Ryan. And the leader of the resistance is a girl named Mariah. And Jesse and Mariah are in a relationship, and they're leading this resistance, and they have this big plan for how they're going to take down Wilhelm, but they get completely fucked. They get totally subverted and defeated on the first album. So Mariah gets her fucking head cut off, and basically it's a total victory for the bad guys. Like they end up killing, they unleash the Monstar virus, they get Coheed to fucking break the keywork. Cambria kills him and then herself. So Coheed and Cambria are dead. Most of their kids are dead. Jesse is still alive, but his girlfriend Mariah is dead. So the only ones who survived this album basically are Claudio. Even Patrick, the fucking one girl's boyfriend, gets killed. So Claudio and his girlfriend Nuo, who is just back at home wondering what the fuck happened, and Jesse are the only survivors. So that's the first album / the first 2 volumes of the comic. Also, the angel people called the Prize. There's one named Ambelina who has to burn her wings and lose her angel powers so that she can go be Claudio's guide. So I haven't read the comics for the second album yet, but I know that what happens is that Claudio meets up with his uncle Jesse. They team up, and that happens in the song Blood Red Summer, the one that's like, what did I do to deserve this? That's Claudio talking about his epic destiny to basically break the keywork, free all the souls in the universe, defeat Wilhelm Ryan, just save the universe by destroying it and letting everybody die peacefully instead of, eternally being used as an energy source for an evil wizard. And then over the course of the next few albums, he does that. But also, the third album is about God, because the entire story is actually being written by a guy in the real world, and the writer is really just writing this story to get over a bad breakup. And he's got schizophrenia, and he talks to his bicycle, and his bicycle is like, you really need to end this story. You have to kill Ambelina because you've put too much emotional stake into her. And if you kill her, then Claudio will feel motivated to go destroy the universe. And so the talking bike convinces the writer of the story to, process his breakup and literally write himself into the story. He appears as God, kills Ambelina, basically says, fuck you, Claudio, go destroy the universe, and then, hightails it out of there. And then in the final album, Claudio does, in fact, Claudio and Jesse, and Jesse has all these robot kids called the iRobots that he fucking abuses and raises like shit, but, him and his robots, they fucking defeat Mayo, and they eventually, Claudio kills Ryan and destroys the fucking universe in a good way, a positive destruction of the universe. That's me skipping over a lot of details because I haven't read all of the comics yet. But that's the plot. That's what happens. You may have noticed that a bunch of that didn't make any fucking sense. Why does Josephine just why is there an entire song that's just about Josephine going to Jersey City and getting raped and then coming home and being sad and then getting killed? Why? Why did that need to be in there? I don't know. It was the 90s, all right, or the early 2000s. I mean, he came up with the ideas in the 90s and then over the course of the 2000s was able to adapt them into albums and comics, but I think probably the first two albums worth of story is what he had originally planned before they became Coheed and Cambria. And then the second two albums are about dealing with the fact that he has trapped himself into writing this story and that he's not really the same person he was when he started the story. So, like, the third album being about the guy writing the story, trying to finish the story, is incredibly obviously meta commentary on the fact that he's like, oh yeah, I started this based on all these emotions I was having in my teens that I'm largely over and I'm in a completely different point in life, but I still need to end this story because now I've completely committed to it. And then the fourth album is like basically about it being the ending. Like the album is about the fact that it is the ending of the story. And then the fifth album is the prequel that tells the story of Dr. Iroh creating the iRobots and it, you know, how the world fell under darkness, if you will. And then their sixth and seventh albums, as I understand it, are like set in the same universe, but they're about a guy being lost in space and having to like gather all these assassins to do something. I don't really know. Then there's the side project, which is the Prize Fighter Inferno, which is Claudio and like doing solo stuff and stuff with his wife. And the Prize Fighter Inferno is about the soul of Jesse after he's killed. His soul like travels to Earth in an Appalachian town. And it's just like a weird, like, kind of Twin Peaks-esque, like, but way more violent and edgy drama about, like, a bunch of hillbillies. There's, like, a mother who has this giant whirring fan blade in her yard that they have people, like, just... that they have her sons like just throw corpses into this big fan blade and they splat. I don't know. It's fucking nuts. Everything that he has ever imagined is completely fucking insane. So yeah, that's about as much detail as I think I can get into on the Coheed story. It's cool in the sense that it's very imaginative and like and wacky and wild and epic, but the storytelling capability is barely there. So when you read it, it was very much like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, and again, connecting it to the lyrics, like it's very obvious that the plot is retrofitted to the lyrics. Like Claudio writes songs that have sounds, and then he finds words that matches those sounds. And then when he like needs to fill in the blanks, he like uses elements of this sci-fi story idea he had. But like the songs don't make sense as telling the story of the albums. Like there are moments in the lyrics that are also in the books. And so you can go, oh, okay, that was a line of dialogue that character said. That shit wasn't planned. That shit was retrofitted. Sounds like any 1990s story, hypergore and violence. Yeah, it's very 90s comic book for sure. Like, it reads like, oh yeah, this is something a teenage boy who was really into Star Wars and comics in the 90s would have come up with. Motherfucker has songs, there are Shibuti songs that reference the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars wasn't a movie yet. Like, that motherfucker was reading books. He was reading Star Wars books. There's a Game Grumps that Claudio was a guest on where they play Star Wars Battlefield 3, and he explains that the Good Eye Sniper line, the famous line from A Favorite House Atlantic, was come up with because their tour bus had broken down one time, and he spotted a Walmart way off in the distance, and he said that to the tour manager, and the tour manager went, "Ah, good eye, sniper," and he was like, "That's a great line. I'm going to put that in my song." So somewhere along the line, that becomes a character in the narrative, but... All right, Alf Rules with 100 ARS said, which is the best rapper and based on which parameter? Like, what makes a rapper better than another? I don't think that's something that could be determined. You like them more. I think that's the best answer you could give. I don't know. Trying to qualify a rapper as better than another rapper just seems like a pointless exercise, you know. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Who gives a fuck which one is the best? I vote for Bus Driver. Why? Because he says the most crazy bars. Let's read some Bus Driver lyrics. They paint their vulva beige, bleed a cola keg, while I plan to ruin GOP motorcades. For these senseless zines turned censored scenes, I earn a soldier's wage. So I broke your legs, threw you rollerblades, because you claimed that the OG was overpaid for pointing M16s at grenadine, coursing through the pollster aids. I need my water brush. In the economic crunch, the financiers are seeped in embalming slush, and the sexist machines express the means to reappeal Roe versus Wade. So I gotta demote the dark matter on the spring-loaded park plaza. Who is in charge? I don't know. They all eat their business cards. I'm a hack at deer shootin', no Vladimir Putin. While I wear this cashmere pantsuit thing, I can knight the spokesman so ibuprofen becomes your golden egg. Automated voter ready tellers are the subsequent heavy seller in the pool of undecided registry because they don't give a fuck about the findings on a troop surge is a moot point. What have you heard? Bumbling idiots for news correspondents see the desperate need to form a new foreign policy, yet they give their credence to the pro-war pandering as we squabble over Saturn's rings. Regimented double talk undercuts the pertinence of our corporate heads trying to run away with tax cuts in their vestibules. The evangelicals are tent poles begging the head of state to regulate the gross. Happy ever after, benefactors all settle matters. The Senate gathers to celebrate the fat fucks' inability to give a single solitary hoot about the proletariat. Their merriment is gross. What does this mean for you, though? You looking geeked up, rolling in a Prius, but I gotta give my money management a C+ with my foreclosed home and pork bowl loans. I revisit the need to grind. I'm dating Russian fembots, sipping on some hemlock, because I got overdue billing on my desktop. When I've been overthought and undercooked, that's when I need me time. With the pulmonary palimpsest. That is the song Me Time with the pulmonary palimpsest by Bus Driver. And that came out in 2009. So yeah, I'm going to have to say Bus Driver is the best rapper because he wrote that. Let's do another one. That one I would have tried to rap it, but it's literally so fast that you wouldn't have understood what the fuck I was trying to say. Ego Death, I could do the way he does it. Under the cellulite-laden thigh of the night, I slip miniature monsters between my cries and gripes, jewel-flavored crystals in the red, blue, and white stripes, while crowds throw numbers at me like the price is right. And downtime is never met with an overjoyed grin, 'cause sleep and death have always been conjoined twins. You'd rather lick the red gills of pop art than your cement-filled pock marks. The withering tendrils from my wrought heart reach for a Benadryl like it was a lost ark, 'cause my average day is for the body of Aegis. They're prompting these sieges. We cry to these seniors living inside a splotchy Adidas serving consecutive sentences. My corrective lenses is ruby quartz, yet my vision ain't worth a jiggling of booty warts. Circumstances trap writers like Kathy Bates under a decolorized happy face, so my car ain't covered in candy paint, but still the nanny state can't fix the diaper rash. I'm pinging this on a cybercast, questioning news items, playing patty cake with Ira Glass. The fact that this pony show's racist stirs the colloquial cake mix and charges the homeostasis of all the homies who await us like we some smoking Joe Frazier's, but my unchecked whining's like some ceremonial plate shift. Nobody else does it like that. Nobody else does it like that. That's crazy talk. Bus driver. Driver. All right, I've been going for 3 hours. I'm starting to get tired and want to do something else. So I don't know how long I was ranting about Coheed and Cambria's story for, but I must have been like an hour. What do I want to go out? I'll go out singing something. I should obviously sing some Shibuti, right? What's a good Shibuti song to end on? Camouflage? No. Shibuti. Yeah, fuck it. We'll do Shameless. Remember your innocence. Set fire to December. I'm giving away you, but now it's a part for you to serve. Oh yes, to serve. It's all over. We've all wondered. Now I know, dear sir. Bless you, remember, dear dark soldier, a message from the battle jar. I'm giving away you, but now it's a part for you to serve. Oh yes, to serve. It's all over. We've all wondered. I said, Master, I've traveled with this message that I bring. And your lost cause, and they tell themselves, I beg you more, so you can get on now. Yeah, that's a weird one to sing without hearing the instruments behind it. Let's try something else. Now let's do Star Cecil. Star Cecil left me alone, torn. This folding brush I found in store, I fell through. Too good to turn around, and you gave me much more to hold. Believing you here, I dissemble. So now I'm sore, dissatisfied all the time. Remember you told me, said over the hills, catch me far away, far away. Well now maybe we were so good enough to fly by, but now that summer died, we were going back for mine. Star Cecil, my heart in your hands, stone, turn me to full, I'm empty, I need you. Oh, I fucked it up. Whatever. That's enough Shibuti. Shibuti is weird to sing by itself. Without instruments, I mean. The Coheed and Cambria rant was nostalgic. It made me tear up a little. Felt like I was in high school again. I know, right? I'm telling you. The nostalgia for 2009 is strong. It's also the year I graduated high school. Where can we read those comics? Read Free Comic Online, whatever website I used. I don't know. It took me a while to actually track down a site that had them, but it was just like readcomicsonline.ru or some shit like that. And yeah, I read Al's Super Chat was the best rapper one. Anyway, later.